Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're delighted to have you on the webinar, and we really look forward to sharing with you the approach we're taking here at Ross toward career services for our online MBA students. My name is Ann Schoen, and I'm the Associate Director of Admissions for the online MBA program. But before we get started, just a few housekeeping items. Hopefully most of you have used GoToWebinar in the past, but you should see our slides advance, just like we did there. You should hear our voices. And you should see on your screen a question and answer box. So feel free to type in any questions you have along the way, and those will pop up on our screen to address. We'll make sure that we save time at the end to go through those questions aloud so that everyone can hear the answers. But type them in as you go along as they pop into your mind. We know that you'll have a lot of them, and we want to make sure that we're taking care of those today. It's my pleasure to introduce my colleagues from the Ross Career Development Office, Heather Byrne and Val Adams, to the webinar today. Heather is the Managing Director of the office and oversees career services for all degree programs. Val Adams is the Associate Director of the office and the career coach who works most closely with our part-time MBA students. We have some wonderful information to share with you today, and we are, again, interested in your questions, so feel free to ask those along the way. Please don't be shy, and let's go ahead and dive right in. So Heather, you want to take us away?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Heather Byrne. As Ann mentioned, I'm the Managing Director of the Career Development Office. I've been at Ross for about 12 years and been in this role for about a year and a half, but I've worked with all of our students and ran the MBA program for a little while. So I know what it's like to go to school while working, and so I can appreciate where you all are coming from, and it takes a lot of energy and time management, and it's a great feeling in the end when you complete your degree.
Hi guys, I'm Val. I'm one of the career development coaches. You'll see as we go further along that we actually have a pretty large staff here, but I work most closely with the part-time students and look forward to working with you as well. And as Heather said, one of the unique things about being working professionals is you are juggling a lot of different things going on in life, and we're sensitive to that, and we'll kind of walk you through today what we're going to do to be able to help you balance those things while you're looking at the next stage of your career.
Great. So I know as you are looking at different programs, you probably have a couple of questions top of mind. First, can you get the job that you want? And second, how will you be supported in your career search and in pursuing that job? So how can you get the job? Can you get the job that you want? So I think it's helpful to look at some of our statistics, and these are a combination of all of our part-time MBA programs that we have right now. If you look up in the top left, you see about 55% of our part-time students are career switchers. And what that means is they either changed industry or function. So they were either doing finance in a tech firm and then went to marketing, or maybe they went from doing finance in a tech firm to doing finance in a manufacturing firm. And we see of those, about 48% get an increase. They have a 48% increase in their average base salary. Then about 28% of our students, part-time students, are career accelerators, meaning they stayed in the same type of role but moved up in the company. Those students had about a 40% increase in their average base salary, and about 70% received a promotion. So I think the takeaway from this slide is really the value add that this degree has to your career outcomes in the long run. This is a little bit more information. These are functions post-graduation, looking at the average salary and average signing bonuses for each one of these. You can see consulting and marketing, finance take the top, and they typically do take the top salaries, the higher salaries as well. And here's some of the companies that have hired our part-time MBA students in the past. It's a wide variety, so the potential for you to get a job and a role in a company that you're interested in is really great. The Ross brand carries a lot. So there's a lot of potential here to really dig in and be a self-starter and work with our team to make sure that you get a role that you're interested in and that you can be successful in. So then the next part of this I think is really important. It's how will you be supported? What are the types of support that you're going to have from us? And how can we make sure that you meet your career needs? So we have a great team here at Ross. This is all of our staff. Our office serves all of the students at Michigan Ross. And this whole team, even though you'll have a dedicated person for your career coaching, we leverage the expertise of all the people on our teams, whether it's industry knowledge, company knowledge, the details of negotiating a salary. So you have at your fingertips the wealth of experience and knowledge that all of our professionals in our team can bring to you. So now I'm going to turn it over to Val, who's going to talk about our approach and support in specifics for you in terms of your career outcomes and support.
Yep, I wanted to just say a couple more things about our team because having been on it for a while now and working with my colleagues, one of the advantages to coming to Ross, where we have a fairly large career development team, is we do leverage each other's expertise all the time. Not only on the coaching side of things, but also with our employer relations team who works directly with our companies. And so they are also very accessible to students, and we collaborate on an ongoing basis to see if we can create the best experience for you. So you'll have a lot of support while you're here, even though my voice is the one you might hear the most to begin with. Depending on what it is that you're interested in and what direction you want to go to and the pace at which you want to go to it, I may call on some of my colleagues to meet with you and talk with you and impart their level of expertise in certain areas as well. So it really is a great team approach that we have, and hopefully you'll be leveraging that quite a bit while you're here. So wanted to talk a little bit more about our approach specifically for online students. And so we've characterized it here as engaging, flexible, and individualized. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about each of those things. And again, as we're going through this and talking, this is really our opportunity to give you some content, but it's also your opportunity to ask questions. So when you think of something, please chat it into that question box, and we're going to go through those. If you have something on your mind and you're not sure about it, probably somebody else who's on the line also has that on their mind too. So we're happy to answer any of those questions. So think about that as we're going forward. But I want to start with an engaging approach, because having worked with part-time students or evening and weekend students for some time now, one of the things that can be challenging is when you're not here on campus all the time, you need to feel like you're part of things. And so one of the things that we do is make sure that we are engaging with you as much as possible, and also kind of at the level at which you're ready to do that. So this is just such it can be a self-paced program, and so we want to meet you where you are. As a coach, that's kind of my philosophy, is taking into account all those things that are going on in your life, and then being able to engage at those points that are important to you. So it could be that when you start the program, you're really excited about career development and you really want to start talking about things, and that's great. Or it could be that you're overwhelmed with starting the program and whatever's going on at work at the time, and maybe you've got some stuff going on at home, and so you want to put that off for a little bit, and that's okay too. But whenever you're ready to engage, we're here for you, and so I want to make sure that message gets across. Kind of along with that is the flexibility. So we know that as working professionals, you aren't necessarily going to be able to take time out of your day to meet with me or another one of the staff coaches. So there definitely is some flexibility in when we do that. When you come in for your residency weekends, you'll be able to meet with our office. I do a lot of Google Hangout appointments, and so that works pretty well. I've seen the inside of a lot of people's vehicles because they go out to their car during their lunch hour to have a career development appointment, so that might be the case for you, which is totally fine. And then, sometimes we'll meet in the evenings, we'll meet on the weekends, either in person if you're local or over Google Hangout, and sometimes the phone just works better. So there's a lot of flexibility, a lot of variety for you. We just want to make sure that you engage. We'll talk a little bit more about this later, but those students who are the most successful in achieving their career goals are the ones that do engage with us and that take advantage of all the services that we have to offer and do it in a planned way. So we'll be flexible to meet your needs, and then your role is to make sure that you're connecting with us. The third thing I want to talk about is the individualized approach. And so unlike our full-time students who put their lives on hold and they come here and they're immersed in this, you are in very different stages of life and career, not only different than our other degree programs, but also different than each other. And so we are sensitive to that and aware that you're going to need some individualized help probably, and some understanding of what's going on in your life. I think that the people who are the more successful people are the ones that take into account all the things that are going on in life. And I will encourage you to take a look at those things through some of our self-assessment tools. So getting ahead in your career is really the reason most people come to get their MBA. However, you've got some other things going on in life too. And so if you're not looking at that as a whole, it's not as easy to get where you need to go. So I'm going to guide you as far as that goes, wherever it is that you happen to be starting from. So our goal overall is to guide you to the next level of your career. And so for some of you, that means completely switching careers. You're just ready to move on to something else. And that's a certain way of engaging with Career Development Office. For some of you, you're looking at more career acceleration and you want to move forward either in your own company or in your own industry and function, but you want to do that in a different company. And so there are a lot of different ways you can do that, and our goal is to guide you in whatever that looks like. Okay. All right, so here are some more specific items that we're going to help you with over the course of time. So starting on the left there, the individual coaching. So students come to us for a variety of reasons, and when you sign up for a coaching appointment, you might sign up for something, as you can see here, resume review or mock interviews, but a lot of times the coaching is just, the purpose of that appointment is just to figure out what you're doing and what your goals are. And so we often do start there. And in fact, when you get here and we start the program, that would be my goal, is to meet with each of you individually just to get a baseline of what it is that you think you want to do, and how do you think you're going to get there. That is going to change over time, because as you go through the program, you're going to become aware of other opportunities. You're going to be connecting with other students from the online program and perhaps from other programs as well. And what that tends to do is give people inspiration about things that they might want to switch into. So the individual coaching is to kind of help you level set at different stages of your time here and figure out ultimately what the best path is for you. The career development plan is something that we will write down. Sometimes when you get things in your head that you want to do, it can be difficult to figure out what is the path forward. So we're actually going to do a written plan so that we can see what that looks like for you. And again, that's probably going to change over time, and being flexible about that on my end is part of my job. Being flexible on your end, I think, is going to help you too, so that you can negotiate whatever is going on in life. Sometimes the best laid plans don't work out because things happen, and so I want to help you be able to switch gears if you need to. The resume reviews are interesting because if you're a career switcher in particular, you're very used to describing what you do in terms of the tasks at work, what your role is, what your responsibilities are. And when we think about a resume, what we're really talking about is a skills-based resume, where what you're going to do is highlight what your transferable skills are within those things that you do. So it's a little bit of a different way of thinking about it. We would use this for our on-campus recruiting. There's actually a particular format that you would do for that. But also when you're out there in the real world looking for something different, or even when you're in your own company and you're looking to accelerate, the process of putting a resume together is a really good exercise in figuring out how are you going to articulate the value that you're going to bring, and then how do you incorporate what you're learning at school into that value. So that's something that we can guide you on. Our education sessions are going to look like a lot of different things. So we have sessions on personal branding. We have sessions on networking, which, all of you have done networking at the level that you are. And this is a different kind of networking because you're really explaining why you might want to switch into something else or how you're going to leverage your MBA. So the educational sessions are going to be largely virtual, because we want you to be able to have access to them. Some of them will be in real time. I usually will record them though for people who cannot attend. And then when you're here, we'll have opportunities to get together in person, which is important, I think, to be able to really talk with each other and bounce some ideas off of each other. Our mock interviews are really eye-opening from a coaching standpoint, because it's important to be able to practice it so that you can kind of see what the sticking points are. Many of you have not interviewed for a very, very long time. And so as you're going in and you're starting to talk with companies, or as you're looking at a promotion maybe in your own company, again, similar to the resume review, being able to articulate that value is important. And so it's interesting to sort of see that transition, as I've seen over time with students who really are able to hone their elevator pitch and the way that they're going to describe themselves so that they can impart that value that they're going to add. And then one of my favorite parts is this negotiation part and leveraging strategies. So oftentimes this is when you get the job and you have an offer and you have that wonderful problem of maybe having a couple of offers and you're trying to figure out what you're going to do with it. And so we're here to help you with those things as well as you go forward, so that you can think about the best way to move forward in your career, whatever that does look like. All right. So wanted to give you just an idea of what the timeline might look like. And I want to stress that it might look like this, but as we talked about earlier with the individualized approach, it's not necessarily going to look like this. So we don't want you to go into any kind of recruiting unprepared. And that's sort of why we're offering all of these things, and we want to make sure you're taking advantage of them. It's not good for you because you're not going to be as successful as you can. It's not good for Ross because we want to make sure that you're at the level where you can be competitive. So we want to put these things in place for you so that you feel like you're really prepared and putting your best foot forward. So here's what it might look like. So in the fall, you might meet with a coach initially and do some self-assessment kinds of things. You might do this in your first year, or if you're just not ready yet, you might do it more in your second year. Hopefully you'll do it both so that we can do that baseline as I talked about earlier, and then do a check-in as we go forward. But it's good to kind of think about what you want to do at this point. In the winter, we might start looking more at networking strategies and personal brand, because the trajectory of recruiting is long. So it is typically not enough to make sure that you're getting ready to find that new job in the semester before you graduate. It really does start much earlier than that, because we have such an extensive alumni network, which we'll touch on in a minute, that being able to reach out to those people early and often will really help you understand what different roles look like. It will help you make contacts in those organizations. So we kind of want to start that early to make sure that you're prepared for that. The personal branding has to do with the elevator pitch. We'll also look at LinkedIn profiles. Those can be a little bit tricky to update when you're also working, depending on how transparent you are with your company about looking for something else. And so we can talk about how to handle those types of things too. And then when you're really ready to kind of get down to business, particularly if you're interested in on-campus recruiting, that is coming here, talking to the companies that come here, we have some very specific criteria for you to meet, again, so that you are prepared and you're putting your best foot forward. And one of those is a recruiting prep course. So there'll be some deliverables, some assignments through that that'll be required of you. And then we'll do in the summer a boot camp that's about a day long. So that's something that you can opt into, whether you're looking at companies that come here to campus or whether you're looking at companies that don't. These things are helpful for you in getting prepared. So this is kind of what it might look like, knowing that you may do these things in various years that you're here, but that's what I want to talk about with you so that we are figuring out what is best for you in terms of what your trajectory is. All right, so some tips for career success, and this is based on our experience over time, because there is work that goes into it. And so while we have a great staff, we have a large staff, we're here to support you. The flip side of that is there's some work to be done and some ways to think about this that are going to help you with your success. And so we want to encourage that as you're going into the program. So the first thing is to discover what you want. And you probably right now have an idea of what you want to do. Maybe you don't. Maybe you just want to get your MBA and see what happens, and that's okay too. But eventually, during the course of time that you're here, as you're getting ready to look for those jobs for that next step in your career, at your own company, a different company, whatever that looks like, there has to be a period of discovery. And so business school is a really great time to do that, because you're going to be meeting with a lot of different people, learning a lot of different things. depending on what you're coming from, it's just going to be a really different way of thinking, which can be very refreshing. And so part of the self-discovery just kind of happens automatically. But we do want to offer some things to help you do that. So we have some assessments that you can do. One of them is called Career Leader. And most students do that within their first year in our other degree programs to just kind of figure out from an MBA perspective, what are those functions that might be best for you? So when we think about what you're going to move into, sometimes people will be looking at a function primarily. Maybe they want to move from finance into something like marketing. Maybe their industry is what they're looking at. Maybe they're happy with what they're doing. Say they're doing finance in the healthcare industry, but they want to move into finance in the tech industry. So some people are really interested in more of that industry move. And for some of you, it's going to be location. You might really be happy where you are. You have a family there. You don't want to uproot anybody. And so that's where you start figuring out the possibilities. But wherever you are, we're going to want to assess that and talk about it and figure out what's best for you. So the Career Leader Assessment is one way to do that. Some students often will opt into the MBTI, which is the Myers-Briggs, which is more of that personality assessment. And that kind of just informs how you might want to approach your recruiting path, how you might want to approach the next stage in your career. What is going to make you more comfortable and happier? And as a coach, that's my goal for you, is to get into something new that is a right fit, and so that it is sustainable, and so that you're happy there and you're going to grow in that, whatever it is, the new function, the new industry, or even staying in your own. The second thing that's helpful, and I mentioned this earlier, is leveraging all of your resources. And so there are a lot of resources here. There's a lot of stuff online that we have, a lot of guidelines, a lot of quick tips sheets that you'll find on our website. But we also have a lot of people here to support you. And even within Ross, there's a lot of different things going on. We have centers and institutes that you might want to have access to that might help you go forward in your career. So the more you're leveraging those things and at least learning about them at the beginning and figuring out maybe which ones are interesting to you, and then consulting with the coach to figure out which ones are recommended for you, the better off you're going to be. But if you're not engaging, then you're less likely to be successful. So that's one of the things that we're hoping that you're going to do when you get here. Even though it's going to look different for you, it's going to be more of a virtual type of engagement, and that's okay with us anyway. So we're ready for it. We're ready for you. So the network is huge, and you probably know this about Ross. That's probably one of the reasons why you're considering us for your online program. So 500,000 plus alumni worldwide. We have alumni career resources, and we also have lifelong learning. So these are things that you can access the second to anytime after you graduate, but the alumni worldwide, is something you can access at any time. The other thing I want to point out is we have a way for you to discover current students that might be helpful to you. We have a lot of different degree programs here. Our other part-time programs as well have students who are working, like you will be. And so that kind of internal network too of who's at a company right now that you might be interested in working at, that might be able to connect you with somebody, is something that I think is unique about Ross and the way that we do things. So the alumni careers resources, that might feel a little premature for you right now, but for some people, this is the way to go. Sometimes there's so much going on in life and at work, and then you add school into it. The best time to really think about that career shift is later. And it's when you're getting ready to graduate, because then you feel like you have some time for it. So if that's you, you might want to leverage alumni career resources early. But you may also leverage them at any point in life. Maybe you graduate and 5 years from that point, you're ready to move into your next level career and you want some guidance. You come back to Ross and you're going to have somebody that's going to help you through that. It's going to help you update your resume, develop a career plan, help you target alumni. So there's a lot of different things that are going to be helpful for you even after you graduate. Lifelong learning is one of those things. You have access to our continuing education programs as an alum, and so those are options for you as well. Tuition free, yes. Thank you, Heather. Tuition free. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. Okay, so that's kind of the lay of the land in terms of what career development has to offer for you. I'd like to hear from you in terms of what questions you might have, and I think there's one question as well. Yeah.
So the first one is, how exactly does the residency weekend work when you live in Ann Arbor? So the residencies will be held here on campus. And even though you live locally, we would still encourage you to stay in the hotel accommodations that we have arranged, because there's going to be very little downtime for these activities we have planned for you for the several days that you're here. So this is an opportunity for you to, again, engage and network with your fellow peers. So really taking advantage of that would be ideal, staying with them in the hotel, having social activities rather than just going home at the end of the night. So, and it's included in your tuition. So it's not as if you have to pay for separate hotel accommodations. So we'd encourage you to still come and join us.
Yeah. It definitely helps you feel, part of this community here, just being in the building at different times of the day and experiencing what that's like.
Okay. Next question. Can online MBA students attend in-person career fairs and recruiting events in Ann Arbor with other MBA students? Ladies?
So yes, how it's going to look if you want to participate in any on-campus recruiting is you will need to complete a course and a boot camp. And the reason for that is because, like Val mentioned earlier, we have other students who've been here at Ross, and they're residential students, they're full-time students, and they have been working on career prep before they started classes. So we want to make sure that you feel as comfortable as they do and can leverage those experiences. Some of that preparatory things may happen in person here at Ross, so you may need to come here 1 extra or 2 extra times. So you'd want to think about that from a financial standpoint, just as a way of planning ahead for that. And then once you finish the career prep course and the boot camp, then you can participate in some of these in-person events here at Ross and on campus. Do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, and as I mentioned earlier, this takes some forethought. Any kind of recruiting does, whether it's here on campus or out there in the real world. And so one thing that's important to note is this stuff will happen, this boot camp and the course and whatnot. It will happen the year of the recruiting season that you're thinking of. So really we get started in January, even though you might not meet with any of the companies until September, because you as a working professional do not have usually a very defined period of time where you can just work on recruiting prep. So we kind of spread it out a little bit so you can do a little bit at a time and it's manageable, and so that you can be prepared when recruiting season comes. We also started early because depending on where you are, depending on what you want to do, that summer is a really good time to start doing some of that early networking. And so we want you to be prepared for what that kind of networking looks like and how to do an informational interview and what the alumni are going to expect when you contact them. So we do get started early. So if this is something that you think that you might want to do, that's, we should talk about it sooner than later, I guess, just to make sure that you're prepared and that you don't miss out on any of these checkpoints and deadlines for the recruiting preparation.
And the other thing I think it's important to know is that recruiting looks different depending on what you're recruiting for. So for consulting, it's really important to get to know those recruiters, to get to know the alumni. It's very much, the firms put a lot of energy and time into trying to get to meet and know everybody who's interested in their company, and they are here a lot on campus. And so that would be maybe a higher investment in time than maybe doing something in marketing. So it also depends on the company. So some firms like, Google, they don't actually recruit on campus, but you really need to make a connection with somebody there, one of our alums, for them to kind of refer you. So it looks very different. And that's where, as Val was mentioning before, the breadth and depth of the information that our team has on how these things work individually with each company is going to really be a benefit for you. So the more focused you are, the more success you're going to have, because it looks a little bit different depending on what you're recruiting for, and even within that, the company.
Yeah, the on-campus recruiting process is very, very interactive. So it's not like maybe what you've experienced in undergrad, or even if you have another advanced degree where there is really a career fair. where you're handing out your resume. It's coming to meet the companies is a piece of it, but really that networking is so important at the MBA level, where you're meeting with the companies and making sure that you have that face-to-face. And then that fosters that relationship with the company, in addition to having a great resume, which we'll work on. And that's what gets you the interview. So it's a combination of things that will help you through, but it's a different kind of recruiting when you're at the MBA level. So we want to make sure that we're walking you through that. Okay.
Any other questions? Don't be shy. Maybe another minute, and then we'll call it a day.
I'm glad our presentation was so thorough.
It's hard when you're sitting at your desk at work sometimes.
Exactly,
isn't it?
that's
And you're
true.
trying to think of something, and probably you will have questions going forward.
Yes.
And so, yeah.
And if you do, that is totally okay. Please feel free to reach out to us at any point in time. We are here to help. So thank you so much to our presenters, Heather and Val, today for their time. And hopefully you've learned a little bit more about our online MBA career service plan. So thank you. Have a great rest of your day. And as always, go blue.
Go blue.
Go blue.